computer. Did you hear that?
I did.
Okay,
It's
perfect.
official and live right
I
now.
know, so excited. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And it is a pleasure having you on our show, on my show. It really is an honor. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, yes. So glad to have you. So you were born in Flint, Michigan, and you left when you were about 3 years old. Then you went back as a
Yeah.
teenager. So what was it like there as a teenager? You know, those are pretty much the toughest years, I think, of our life.
Yeah.
So what was it
Yeah.
like growing up, as a teenager in Flint?
When I was growing up in Flint, it was around the time when the crack epidemic jumped off. And Flint being predominantly African American, I mean, we all know how that story goes. I mean, those were the communities hit the hardest.
Mm,
Oh, me growing up, I saw all of what I saw a lot of things that young people shouldn't see.
right. So you were forced to grow up then pretty much in that type of environment.
Yeah, gangs. We had our gangs weren't Bloods and Crips, but they were folks up and folks down. So I can't. Let me think about this for a second. It's been a while since someone asked me this question. I think up was red and I think down was blue, if I'm not mistaken. And
Mm,
the up, they were on the north side of Flint, and the down, they were on like the south side of Flint. And all of that, in addition to the crack and all of the drugs and the violence and the guns and the police and just the whole thing. And simultaneously, while this is happening, General Motors is doing their exit strategy. They're starting to begin that because in Flint, Buick City, General Motors, around that time, they were thinking, oh, well, we'll just send our work to Mexico.
mm-hmm.
Oh, we'll just consolidate and go down to Detroit. Flint started to really struggle when I was a teenager. But when I was younger, though, I remember when Flint was vibrant and
Yeah.
people were making good money, and the businesses were strong and they were thriving and people were successful. And then all of a sudden,
How did you manage to stay grounded and just stay out of it all?
well, I can't say that I stayed out of it all. I did stay grounded. Always had a faith background. My mom, I would say she's a teetotaler, Bible thumper. Shout out to
Mm.
moms. She was that kind of person, and my grandmother too. They were strong. He, my dad, he was a good provider for our family.
Mhm.
I mean, I had all the basics, but I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of that allure of the lifestyle, the street life and the fast lane and
Mhm.
all that comes with that, right? So I mean, I had a good foundation.
Mhm.
What do they say? What's that Bible verse? Teach a child in the way that they are to go, and when
Teach a
they're
child,
old,
yeah.
they won't depart. It was one of
Yes,
those kinds of things.
yes, yes. Yes, yes. Sometimes I believe in life that we're given a certain amount of struggles to overcome
Yeah,
in order to all of us, every single last one of us, none of us is exempt from, the troubles and trials of life. But the goal is how you approach it. And are you going to allow it to, keep you stuck? Or
right.
are you going to, fight your way out of it? So, what fires you? What fuels you? What gets you out of bed every morning with, the mindset to overcome and take over?
Life and our ancestors, Nadine. So
Love that.
life, when I say life, I
Mm-hmm.
mean every day that the Lord wakes me up and starts me on my way, give me sound mind and body, health and strength, activity, my digits and limbs. I mean, that's a good day because some people didn't
Yes.
wake up, right?
Yes.
And some people woke up and they weren't able to move around. They weren't
Mm-hmm.
able to be in their right mental faculty, all of the things. So every day when I wake up and I look around and I'm like, hey, I'm still here.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
all the motivation I need. But stack on to that, the things that our ancestors went through, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they didn't have the choice to sleep in. They
Mm-hmm.
had a choice to say, I'm gonna take a day off.
That's right.
The sacrifices that they made in order for you and me to be here,
Mm-hmm.
it would be a disservice to them to not get out and get after it every day.
That is so true. But how did you develop that type of mindset? I mean, people know this, but a lot of people still remain stuck in their conditions. And I honestly believe that no one wants to be stuck. Everyone wants to answer to that voice that is beckoning them to, I guess, change. So
Yeah.
how did you develop that type of mindset to be so positive and to, just be on a mission to be your best version?
To be honest, I'm not quite sure, but I will say this. My mom will tell me when I was a baby, she's like, you was just the happiest little baby. You was always smiling and laughing and everything. So I just think that divinely, I was that gift was given to me. That
Hmm.
gift of being positive, being energetic, looking for the silver lining, trying to find
Yeah.
the best in myself and other people.
Hmm.
It's a natural thing. I can't say that there was any one thing or any one book or any one sentence or somebody said something to me that made me who I am in that way. As far back as I remember, I've always been this way.
Hmm. Hmm. So you've always been a jovial, happy, see the best in everything kind of person.
Yeah, sometimes to my detriment, but 100% true.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So I noticed that you have a calling to serve humanity and it just pours right through you. When did you start noticing that call and when did you answer it?
That's a really good question. It's always, again, it's just one of those things where I really can't put my finger on the exact moment. I will say that when last year,
Hmm.
when we went through everything that we went through, and especially when the George Floyd things jumped off,
Hmm.
and I'm seeing, man, just seeing all of the things and all of the hate and the back and forth and the this and that,
Hmm.
and I just really sat down and started to read and understand some things. So I will say there were some books that I read that got me into the mindset of, well, wait a minute. All this stuff that's going on in the world and this programming and the things that we're we're told is true, but it's really not true.
Mm.
When I
Yes.
started to understand that, hey, wait a minute, this the system is the deck is stacked against us,
Oh yeah.
but it's stacked against all of us. And
All of
that
us.
that was
Yes.
that was that was the key. When I
Yes.
understood it's not just us,
There you
it's
go.
everybody.
Yes.
This
Yes.
this thing affects everybody in the
Yes.
most negative way. Even the
Yes.
people who are benefiting from the system, they're even they're even affected negatively.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
well, I was just going to say, and that's hard to digest. That's hard to process.
Hmm.
I'm pretty good at processing information once I get it and then I'm able to connect dots real quick.
Hmm.
And when I started to connect the dots and I said, man, we're all in this together. We're
Hmm.
all we're all getting screwed.
Hmm.
We have to look at things not we do have to look at things. I believe that we have to look at things individually because we are individuals, right? You
Hmm.
have your retina and your fingerprint. No, nobody else have it. I have my retina and my fingerprints. No, nobody else have it. So we have to look at us as individuals for sure, but we're all individuals in this big giant community of the world of
Hmm.
humanity.
Hmm.
And for me, I said, man, if we could break some things down, if we could just get behind the idea of we're all in this together, we're all
Hmm.
humans.
Hmm.
Why not champion the cause of humanity. I mean, everybody's talking about racism. Everybody's talking about
Yes.
Democrats and Republicans. Everybody's
Yes.
talking about, all of these divisive things, but it's like, no,
No, I like that.
humanity,
Mhm.
us, all in this
Yes.
together.
Yes. I like where this conversation is going because I, the biggest trick ever played on humanity is the illusion that we're separate.
Exactly.
And there's no such thing. Like the law of divine oneness states that everyone and everything is connected in the world.
Exactly.
Our thoughts, the only thing that's separating us is just we're vibrating on different frequencies based on the way that,
Exactly.
based on our thoughts, right? And what you do and what I do, what we say, it all affects each other because we're all interconnected. And humanity has forgotten who they are, and they're
Mm,
so focused on this race thing, and there is no
mm.
such thing as race. And I
That's
love,
exact, girl.
yes.
Preach, girl, preach.
And I love the article that you wrote in the letter that you wrote to the Republic, because I was like, oh my
Thank you.
gosh, you're welcome. Someone thinks the way I think, because I don't get into the debate of race. I don't let it get into my consciousness because it's all a plan to separate us. So
Exactly.
I believe to never discover our true potential and who we really are. So it's best to keep us divided so we
Exactly.
can fight against each other and focus
Exactly.
on that. So I don't get too much into that, but can you, I love the letter that you wrote. Can you speak to that?
Oh, girl. Wow. Well, well, I'll hop into that, but I was thinking, a thought popped into my head
Mhm.
as you were speaking that truth. What really, I just thought of this. What really shifted my paradigm
Mhm.
was when I took a DNA test. You
Mhm.
can do 23andMe, Ancestry, DNA,
Yes,
all of that
yes. I
stuff.
think it's a reminder that I need to do it because I haven't done it yet.
Girl, I strongly encourage you to do it. And
Okay.
this is why. Because for me, it felt like there was this void in my life. I didn't really, to your point about being grounded, I felt grounded, but I was like, man, but I still feel disconnected somehow. And I really couldn't put my
Yes.
finger on it.
Yes.
And then when I took the Ancestry DNA test, and then I discovered, oh, snap, I'm Nigerian.
Look at that.
My people who come from Nigeria, they come from the Congo.
Yes.
And that was the missing link, so to speak. That was the access code that
Yes.
unlocked a lot of new thoughts and
Mm-hmm.
new way of looking at things. And going to the letter, that's a part of it too. Because once
Mm-hmm.
I understood this and I started reading and discovering other people like W.E. Du Bois,
Mm-hmm.
who, hey, this is all jacked up. This is
Yeah.
basically a lie. And I
We've all been lied to.
exactly, we've all been lied to. And
Yes.
when I discovered that, I was like, man, here in Columbus, Indiana, unfortunately, there are some European supremacy, superiority folks in the neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
and they left some graffiti in some different places here around town. Now, I'm active. I believe that mobility is the key to longevity. So if I don't have to drive,
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I walk.
Right.
Columbus is very walkable.
Mm-hmm.
And I live downtown. My office is downtown. So I choose to walk, even when it's raining, even when it's snowing. But if it's really messy outside, I will hop in the car.
Mm-hmm.
I'm walking through alleyways. I'm seeing this graffiti and I'm like, oh, snap, this is not cool. That's what prompted me to write this letter to say, you know what? These people who are putting this graffiti on buildings,
Mm-hmm.
who have this ideology, this way of thinking about humanity is completely erroneous.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of vilifying these folks, which that's what everybody does, I just decided to put people up on game and
Yeah.
say, look, here are the facts. Do with the facts what you will.
Yes. 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 And it really, it hurts me to see how many people really, like, humanity have truly forgotten who they are, because if they
Yes.
did, then they would realize that everything that's going on right now is you're either creating it in your mind with the thoughts that you're thinking and bringing that situations into your life, or you've been lied to. We've all been lied to. And that's why I really created this podcast, to really get into people's minds that there's we are here for something greater than ourselves.
Come
We're
on,
here,
girl.
yes. Like, we're spiritual beings, multidimensional beings
Yes.
having a human experience.
Yes.
And what you're experiencing in your life right now is just a short phase of what you're going through. You can change the narrative. You
Yes.
can change the stories that you're telling yourself, which leads me to my next question. I truly believe that each and every one of us have a purpose in our life.
Mhm.
And it's up to us to find that purpose.
That's right.
How do you get that information out to people to really allow them to stop telling themselves that old stories that they've been telling themselves over and over, because it's just a story.
Right.
So what do you do, what we're going to get into your TED Talk next,
Oh, sure.
to really give people that information? Because you can get the information, but it's what you do with it. But it's good to get that information out to people, to realize that they are creating their reality in every step of the way, with the thoughts they think, with the garbage that they watch on news,
That's right.
with the people that they're having in their company, with the
That's
food they're
right.
eating, just with everything. How do you do this on a daily basis to help people rise up from their, from just basically from a life that they are not enjoying?
Well, keeping it positive for me, keeping it positive, and with every engagement, at least I try.
Mhm.
With every engagement that I have with everyone that comes across my path, to give them the biggest jolt of positivity that I could possibly give them.
Yes.
And that starts with a smile. It starts with a
Mhm.
wave. It starts with the what's up. It starts with a fist bump. Very, very, very simple, which
Mhm.
then can lead into a conversation depending on the circumstances, depending on where I'm at. And once I start to get in a dialogue with the person, I'd start sharing thoughts based on the way that the conversation goes, just like how we're doing right now.
Yes, yes.
Right now, I will say I'm more focused on this idea of, of ending racism for good. And I mean,
Yes.
that's a big statement. I know that with as many people as I bump into on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, I don't have to necessarily say, preach at them and, point the finger at them, things like
Yes,
that.
yes, yes.
But through the words that I use,
Mhm.
like, for example, when people will say to me, I'll be in conversation with somebody and they'll start saying, oh, black person, white person. And I'll
Mhm.
smile real big and I say, you're not white. I say, you might be peach, but you're not white. And then I'll
Yeah.
usually find a piece of paper or pull out a
Mhm.
business card or something. I'll say, this is white.
Yeah.
You're not that.
Yeah.
People, they'll like, oh, yeah.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
so then someone might call me black. And I say,
Mhm.
I don't know about that. I mean, I'm a nice shade of like caramel.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then I'll pull out my phone and I'll say, now this screen on this phone, that's black.
Yes,
I'll
yes,
say,
yes.
I'm not that color, right? And they'll be like, oh
Right.
yeah. So I try to, I just is I won't say politely, but as to communicate those ideas in the least aggressive way.
Mhm.
Not you're wrong and your thinking is erroneous or anything like that.
Right.
It's like, hey, here's the truth, right? I mean, we can
Yes.
agree that this is the truth, right? And
Yes.
who's going to say no
Yes.
when
Yes.
it's that obvious?
Right.
So I try to, through conversation, challenge people to use a different or broader vocabulary. And so
Mhm.
even now, people will say that. And I'll say, well, actually, I'm a human, just like you're a human,
Mm-hmm.
an American citizen with ancestry from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And my people, they come from Nigeria and they come from the Congo. Those are facts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when people hear that, just because no one else is having that conversation with them, it changes their thought process. It changes their paradigm. So when you talk about helping people become their best self,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that it comes by shifting, shaking, changing people's paradigms, because it has to be. There's so much out there, there's so much noise, there's so much
Oh, yes.
stimuli,
Mm-hmm.
that we have to say something that's just so avant-garde, that's so
Yes.
out of the box, that's so visionary, that
Mm-hmm.
people have to stop
Yes.
and
Yes.
take it in.
Yes.
So I guess that's a long answer
No,
to
that's a
say
great.
that's what I try to do
Yes.
with the opportunities that I have to have dialogues with people when it's when it's applicable, or when that opportunity presents itself.
Yes. 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 And you touched upon there's so much noise as well. It's the first thing that people need to do is just literally just get rid of their TVs because
Shut it off, throw it in
yes,
the
because,
trash.
because the media is strategically um implementing and putting out information out there
Preach,
to
girl.
yeah, and I hate to say it, but to destroy us,
It's true.
because it really is to put us to put us against each other by always talking about race, and racism and black white. And unfortunately, people who are not really in tune and with who they are, they buy into this. And because what you see visually and hearing every day, you're going to eventually start believing it.
Exactly.
Yes, yes. So I love your go ahead.
I was just going to say to that point, and I strongly encourage you to grab this book. It talk about a paradigm changer.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Tom Burrell wrote a book called Brainwashed. Tom Burrell was one of the first African American people that had a huge advertising agency. My
mm-hmm,
background is in advertising and marketing. So I
mm-hmm.
picked this book up. I'm like, what's this dude talking about?
Right.
And because he was in the advertising and marketing business, his book was how advertising has in marketing has been used to do exactly what you just said.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And it blew my mind. It really,
Yeah.
really did, because here's this industry professional, super successful, breaking it down and saying, this is how they program us.
Mm-hmm.
This
And
is how they
yeah,
program us.
and we literally get programmed because information changes perception. So the more information we let into negative information we let into our consciousness is changing the way we perceive our world, because we all see the world differently, because we're all having our own individual experiences. And I tell my families all the time that be careful what you're letting into your consciousness,
Girl,
because
preach.
we're all computers, or our minds are like a
Exactly.
computer. And if
Exactly.
what we the programs that runs on a typical computer either make or break the computer, just like our minds.
Mm-hmm.
The information that we're letting into our system, what is it doing to you? What is it doing to your spirit? How are you feeling? Remember, feelings that creates everything in our life. So what are you letting into your consciousness? What are you letting into yourself? And then we wonder why most of us walk around feeling like a victim, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the whole entire I guess premise of the media, to let us feel like something or someone is working against us. And then we use that information and walk around feeling like we're not worthy. And that's why I love your TED speech, where you talked about just stop talk just get rid of our excuses. And basically you said that all of us, black, white, everyone has access to information, and there's nothing that is limited to any just group of people. Can you talk about that?
Sure. That experience was crazy in all of the best ways. But as I was developing the speech, and I developed a through line of access. Again, we're talking about computers and programming and things like that. So
Yes, yes.
everybody understands the idea of access, right? You need an
Mm-hmm.
access code to grab your email. You need to get access
Yes,
to your phone to be able to use the phone. So
yes,
access is an easy concept to grasp.
yes.
And looking at it from the perspective of, we all have access to something that someone else may or may not have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's so easy. And we saw this after George Floyd. Money thrown at everything, quote unquote, black.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
NAACP getting, millions of money, millions of dollars of money. Microsoft and Google and all these big companies. We're writing a check for $10 million for this, that, and other thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
easy to write a check.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to write a check. If you have the money, obviously, it's easy to
Yeah.
write the check. I discovered through my journey from Flint, Michigan to where I'm at right now in my life, it was ambition, sure. It was hustle, sure. It
Mm-hmm.
was also access to things that I didn't have, knowledge that I didn't have,
Right.
opportunities that I didn't have, ideas that I didn't have, that other people had access to.
Right.
I didn't. Luckily
Yes.
for me, I don't believe in luck, so I'll say,
I don't either.
yeah, I don't believe in luck. I believe that hard work is luck.
Yes.
I will say, uh, in the universe, divine karma, the serendipity, people landed in my life. I crossed paths with people in my life who said, you know what, you're trying to do something in life. I'll help you out. I'll give you
Mm.
access to this or that or this or that. Or some people saw some potential in me and said, you know
Mm-hmm.
what, if you did this, you would probably kill it.
Mm.
And we all have that, right? Keith had access to you.
Mm-hmm.
Keith gave me access to you, and here I am with you today talking about access and other
Yes.
things. And that's what I'm saying. So when it comes to us as a people group or people at large, and
Mhm.
I was my talk was directed African American folks. I
Mhm.
started out, I said, my fellow African Americans, lend me your ear. I am talking to y'all.
Yes.
However, it is a message that is universal, because we don't have to buy into the fact that we can't have. Now, granted, there's folks who, for whatever reason, they might be disabled in some way. They might be afflicted in some way, and
Mhm.
they can't go out there and get theirs. That's a
Right.
whole different discussion. But
Mhm.
if a person is able-bodied, has a good mind, and has some ambition, a bad situation can be changed.
Yes. That was my next question. Yes. Yes. So I have two questions following up to that. So what
Sure.
is the difference between access and excess? Because you talked about that as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you for asking that question. I just talked about access. Access
Mhm.
is giving me a connection, giving me a hookup, turning me on to something that I did not know or did not have.
Yes.
Whereas the excess part is the check writing, right? And I'm saying,
Mhm.
look, we need
Yes.
access. We don't need excess. If you give me access, I'll create my own excess. I don't want
Yes.
that. I want to connect. I want the hookup. I want the
I love
plug.
that. So you're pretty much saying, do not give me your handouts. Do
Right.
not, yes,
Right. I don't need another stimulus check for real.
because doing that will put you in that, I guess, state of mind to not really rise up from your conditions.
Exactly. And that's
Yes.
part of the system too. So you keep people
Yes.
dependent and weak,
Yes.
waiting on
Yes.
that check, waiting on that next, that waiting on the excess.
Yes,
instead
yes,
of just going out and getting your own. Because I mean, money is not the problem. I mean, there's trillions, $2 trillion. How many times did $2 trillion get dropped into the economy during COVID? I mean, where does this
yes,
money come from? Money's not the problem. Money is everywhere. That's not the
right.
problem.
Yes, yes,
The access, that's the problem. That's the reason why I
yes.
went through a racism workshop and they talked about gatekeepers.
Mm-hmm.
But when you talk about gates being locked, you need the access code to unlock the gate.
Yes,
You need to get that code from the people who are the gatekeepers. So
yes,
I'm like, hey, if you have a gate that you're keeping and you're down with the idea that we're all in this together, unlock the door.
yes,
Just unlock the door. Give
yes,
me, give me the pin code. You know what I'm saying?
yes.
That's all I'm asking for. That's
Mm-hmm.
all I'm asking for. If I can get in the door,
Yes,
I'll do the rest.
yes. Give you the tools.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Give me access to the
yes,
tools. I'll
yes,
give the tools back. Don't give me the tools. Just loan me the tools. I'll
yes,
give them back. But
yes,
just give me access. That's all I want. Just give me access to the tools. Give me access to the door. Give me access to the things that I need. And it's not always money
yes,
to become the person that I need to be for myself, my
yes.
family, and to be a contributor to humanity.
Yes, and that's what we're lacking in schools and the educational system. It
Mm,
doesn't teach children really who they are. It doesn't
exactly.
teach the children that kids. I knew nothing about my thoughts creating my reality. I didn't even I knew
Mm-hmm.
nothing about that until I was
Mm-hmm.
way up in my age. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't teach kids about, compassion and quieting the mind
That's
and
right.
watching what you think about
That's
and
right.
just things that help you really become that superhuman that we really are on
I
the
love that.
inside.
That superhuman. That's right. I love it.
And I think, why do you think most people stay stuck for a long period of time? Because, a lot of people, I'm sure, really want to get out of the rut that they're in. And because, as spiritual beings having a human experience, we can feel that inner calling, that inner pulling in our heartstrings, that there is more. Like we
Right.
have it, but it's so covered up with all the garbage from the media and all the negative things around us. But why do you think people stay stuck for so long and not really fulfilling their highest potential?
All mental. It's all mental. So it starts with the mind. Mind over matter. I mean,
Yes.
even Hebrew scriptures will say, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind."
Yes.
Right? You
Yes.
gotta renew your mind. See, like you said, as spiritual beings, we know that there's something more. We know that there's something
Hmm.
more for us to do. We know that we're capable of greatness, but our mind is
Yes.
all tore up. We've been
Yeah.
programmed to not excel, to not be super.
Yes.
Renewing the mind. I can
Yes.
tell you this: having access to education, having access to books, that changed my mind. I said,
Hmm.
wow, didn't know that this was even a thing in the world. Wow,
Yes.
didn't even know that people could do that. Information, not
Hmm.
information, information and knowledge, the right
Yes.
information, the right knowledge,
Yes.
not the truth. Let's just cut to the chase. The truth.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Be, filling our mind with truth, filling our
Yes.
mind with positivity,
Hmm.
and like you said even earlier, the people who we surround ourselves with,
Hmm.
those, I believe, those three things, if a person understood how important it is to get the truth and to
Hmm.
have people around them who are real,
Yes.
people could achieve, they could
Yes.
become superhuman, they could
Hmm.
become their best self, they could realize who they really are, why they were put here on the earth. Like I said, we all have a fingerprint and a retina that no one else will ever have and no one else has ever had before.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
means there is something in the world that only we can do.
Yes. All of
Only
us.
we can do.
Yes. Yes.
And if we could unlock our mind and access that thing, bam,
Yeah.
that's when that person's life can change, and that person's life can change the world.
Yes, yes. There, we all came here for individual assignments. We all have our own
Exactly.
individual, and we all have our own built-in gifts and talents.
Exactly. I ain't trying to hate on you because I'm doing what I've been put here
Exactly.
to do.
Yes, being the best Aunt Blair that you can be.
Exactly.
You
So
know,
I'm trying to help Nadine, because I ain't trying to pull you down. I'm not
there
trying
you
to keep
go.
you back. I'm trying to help you because I want you to do
Yes.
your thing, and I'm not hating on you because I'm doing
Yes.
my thing.
Yes, there's an abundance of everything in the universe. And I think,
Exactly.
once people realize that, you know, that you yourself is an abundance, like we are abundance
Exactly.
of everything, and it is our birthright to experience that great life and that great feeling, because life is just a bunch of experiences. We're spiritual beings having human experience, and it is our divine right to be able to have the experiences that we're seeking, whether it's materialistic things, living in a nice big house. That is your experience. Whether it's
Mhm.
driving a nice car, whether it's being the best mom you can be, or the greatest chef, or the best
Mhm.
dancer, or the
Exactly.
or best artist. It doesn't matter. We all are here to experience life.
Yes.
And I'm so passionate about that, because I literally it literally hurts me when I see people just suffering
Yeah.
and not really understanding that you can rise above that. And it's hard. It really is. I'm not
It's
going to sit
hard.
here and say it's easy. It's really
That's
not. It's
right.
a daily work of having to reprogram your mind and step outside of that ego, because your ego will always tell you that, listen, you're not good enough, right? So,
Mhm.
it really is important for people to understand that once you have access, like you said, I love that, access and not
Yes.
excess. And you shared some stories in your TED talk about how you got access as a kid. Can you share that with us?
Oh yeah. Well, it started, I wouldn't say, I could go to kid stories, but I'll just start where it started in the talk. What changed my life so far as what I believed that I was capable of doing
Mm-hmm.
was my creative writing teacher in college. I'll never
Yes.
forget her, Martha Hamp, changed my
Yes.
life. She gave me access to an idea. She said, "Do you know what advertising is?" And I was like, "No, I'm like 24. I don't know what advertising is."
Yeah.
She she always encouraged me in creative writing. I mean, I'm a good writer. And back then, I was writing a lot of short stories and poetry and things. She would always be like, "Oh, Anthony, this is so great. You could do this, you could do this, you could do this. You might want to change that. I don't want you to make what you wrote mine. You keep it yours. Here's some things that you can do to enhance it, to improve it. Always encourage me, always give me tips and
Yes.
pointers." And she asked me that question one day, and I said no. And then she put me up on game. She said, "Well, this is what advertising is." And I was like, "For real? I ain't even know." And then she
Mm-hmm.
said, "You'll be good at that." So here's this person who empowered me. Not only did she give me the idea, but she also empowered me and said, "You will be good at doing that thing."
Wow.
And I changed majors. I got into marketing. I got into advertising, and for 23 years, the advertising industry has provided for me and my family.
That is amazing. Look at that. She opened
Yes,
up your mind to the idea that you are capable of advertising. She shifted your paradigm. She gave you access.
she did. She did. Had no
It's
clue what advertising
amazing.
was. How many times did I see a commercial on TV? How many times did I hear an ad on the radio? Didn't know what it
Yes.
was,
Yes.
and saw the
Yes.
potential in me, and then put me up on game, and then encouraged me by basically giving me, like you said, giving me access, and I'll even go so far as to say permission to dream, to hope, to
Yes.
do.
Yes, that's amazing. So as you look into the future, where do you see yourself, let's say 5 to 10 years from now?
5 to 10 years from now, hopefully I have some traction on this higher ground railroad idea. The things that we're talking about today, like you said, in schools, nobody's teaching our kids this stuff.
No.
To be able to have an avenue, to have a platform to be able to teach children this,
Mm.
what we're talking about,
Yes, about
to
yes.
program them, quote unquote, the quote unquote program them the right way.
Yes.
That's definitely a thing. And then from TEDx, they say that's your calling card as a professional speaker, right? I've
Mhm.
done a TEDx. I have an idea worth sharing. I stood in the dot like Simon Sinek and Amy Cuddy and all those folks who
Mhm.
stood in that red circle.
Yeah.
I have access to opportunities to speak and get paid to do it.
Yes.
So that's one of the things that I've aspired to do. People said, hey, once again, access to ideas. People said, wow, you're great. You're a good speaker.
You are.
Oh, thank you, Nadine. I appreciate that. And that's how I met. Well, I didn't meet Keith in Toastmasters, but Keith is a Toastmaster now. And
Mhm.
I competed in Toastmasters competitions for speaking, won trophies, and I started to believe, hey, actually, maybe I am good. They keep giving me
Yeah.
trophies. So I said, I think I could pursue this as a career. And I will tell you this, Nadine, you know who Les Brown is?
Yes, yes, yes. I love Les Brown.
Met Les Brown in person, girl.
That is amazing.
Cool dude. And when I got access to Les Brown and I talked to him, and there's a I listen to Les Brown all the time. In one of the clips, he talks about his high school teacher in a speech that he gave, and he heard this dude, and he was saying it, and he said that, I can't quote it verbatim, but it was basically, he was giving a speech to the graduating high school class. Les Brown
Mhm.
eavesdropped on it, and he was talking about, if one of you will do, I can't remember what the things were, but he said, if one of you will realize, he said, if one of you will realize that you're blessed and highly favored, and he went through that whole thing,
Mhm.
that you can change the world.
Yes.
And Les Brown says, he said he ran up to that teacher after the speech and he said, I'm the one.
Oh, wow.
It
That's
is it
awesome.
is it's so great, right? And so I'm
Yes.
talking to Les Brown, and
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I believe that I can do what you're doing. And he said, you can. And I said, it's on. And that
Yeah.
would have been, I want to say maybe like 2010. And that was about the time I hopped into Toastmasters
Yes.
and
You're doing it
whatnot.
now.
Right, and doing it now.
Yes.
So
Yes.
all of that work and putting in the reps and doing the speeches and doing the freebies at Rotary and all of the things gave me the opportunity, created the opportunity, so that, well, it prepared me for the opportunity. It prepared me for when TEDx said, we're looking for people to pitch ideas. I
Mhm.
was prepared. So it wasn't like, oh
Yes.
my God, what am I going to do? I was like, I'm just going to do what I've been doing for the past 9 years.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
did that. And they said, we invite you to do the talk and all that. So because of that, now I have this calling card to where I can say to folks, hey, I am a TEDx speaker.
Yes, you are. A
I
great one
am worth,
too.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I am worth the money that you will invest into me, because I will inspire your audience, whoever your audience is,
Yes.
to
Yes.
be the best human being that they can possibly be, not only for themselves, but for your company, for your community, for our future. And 5 years from now, I'll be on a stage repeatedly doing just that.
Yes, I see that happening. And yes, you are definitely, changing the world. We need more people like you to, give access to individuals who are looking to change, because there's a lot of people out there who are looking to change, who
They
need
are.
that change, but they really don't know. I was stepping away a little bit from the mic. I realized that I didn't hear
Oh, yeah.
myself, but you're doing such an amazing job.
Thanks, Nadine.
You are most welcome. The world needs more people like you who sincerely cares and passionate about what they're doing, and someone who's creative. I didn't even think about access versus excess. So keep doing what you're doing. It was a pleasure having this discussion with you. Like I said, there are a lot of people out there who's looking for this information, and I hope that you will motivate and inspire millions and millions and millions of people.
That's the idea, Nadine. This was
Yes,
so good. I didn't
I
know how
know.
this was gonna go, like how the conversation was gonna flow, but this
Yes,
this was fantastic.
I
I
know.
thank you for inviting me. And if you ever want to put me on the show again, I will happily say yes.
I thought about that too while you were talking. I'm like, you know what? It's getting into the hour. It's almost an hour.
I
And we
know.
haven't even talked about half of what I wanted to talk about. But
I
it was
know.
so good. So I will definitely be asking you to come back again,
Excellent.
because I absolutely love your mindset. I love what you're doing. And I just wish you just wish you the best. I
Thank
know
you.
that
Same to
you're
you.
most welcome. Thank you. You're doing an amazing job, and the world just needs more people like you. So thank you so much for stopping by,
No
and we'll
problem.
we'll definitely see you again.
All right. Sounds good.
Bye bye.